So we have some major reinforcements after this DanMachi episode. Things are looking a lot better than they have in a long time for the cast of characters. Though even before our girl Ryuu starts talking about how like only one of them's gonna make it, the entire situation just screamed death flags. And she's probably had the biggest death flag out of all of them, or at the very least, she's pretty much tied for first depending on who your other first pick would be. But even before her talking about like the realism versus the hope, because she used to have a very similar idea of things can be better than what reality actually lets happen most of the time, similar to how Belle is. And she looks at Belle as kind of being like this unique adventurer who, honestly, she will die for him hands down. You get the cute stuff about the secondhand embarrassment of the kiss and all that other stuff, but ultimately, it feels like she's willing to die for Belle, and she was ready to die right at the beginning of this, kind of like they fell down the hole, they're in the cave, hey, let me heal you, you can go on. Like, she was trying to die for a while for him, and right now it kind of feels like she's going to hold out as long as possible, but she's fully convinced there will be a point where not both of them will be able to leave this dungeon alive. Honestly, it's probably a bait. There's, like, right now I'm feeling like it's a 60% chance that they both survive and 40% chance she ends up dying. Because there's two ways they're probably going to write this. Either A, they're going to try to show her that maybe that kind of belief that things can be better and more people can be saved. Because, I mean, every episode they kick off with a little more of her familia's backstory. And we can see the kind of almost hostile attitude of someone throwing it in her face that eventually you have to accept that things will happen and you can't change the course of it, right? And right now it feels like she's at that point. So it's entirely possible what they want to do is show Belle as being that one to rekindle that hope in her. But you gotta be honest, there's at least a 40% chance they do want to crush our boy and watch her maybe say, you know what, I wasn't able to keep on with my beliefs, but I believe in Belle. That emotional heart-tugging moment, like, it's entirely possible. Do I hope she lives? Absolutely. I think there's a lot of potential with her character going forward, but am I worried? Absolutely. Now, before we jump any further, do gotta mention, we got that full live reaction available on my Patreon, so if you want to see my full uncut thoughts, head on over there and consider supporting, because watching DanMachi is always a damn blessing, because it's just such a roller coaster of emotions, and when you literally have our boy in a setting where, okay, how many times in this episode and in past episodes have we been in this beautiful, almost like aquatic floor? It's blue, the walls are glowing with these crystals, and in this episode we see it plastered with red. You're seeing dismembered body parts, we're seeing blood every which way. The fact that we're now in a location where it's almost this white floor, and it's almost like this, it's almost grayscaled in a way, and I'm looking at these two characters, bruised and broken, and I'm like, oh man, they're gonna have to fight that snake, or they're gonna have to fight some floor boss that is going to paint those walls red, and it's gonna look even more horrifying than what our other characters are dealing with in this kind of like beautiful aquatic situation. And if they don't paint the walls red, I will be shocked, but it's not looking good. I mean, yeah, we have Belle basically not feeling pain right now because he drank a moldy potion, which, honestly, my boy did it all wrong. It was literally a vial, right? It was like this long of a vial, and he decided to put that on his tongue. He should have just almost swallowed the vial so he didn't have to taste that grossness, but at the very least, he no longer was feeling pain afterwards, and I like what they're doing visually with this, right? Because we don't see the characters, especially our lead characters, that bruised and broken that often, because usually they'd heal, they get rested up, but they don't have time for that. They don't have the equipment, they don't have the mana. Ultimately, this is what they have to work with. A moldy potion, some weird slime soup that they have to drink, and ultimately, we get to see the characters visually look absolutely wrecked. Had he drank that potion and, like, all of his wounds got covered up, well, yeah, it would have been fine. I like the fact that visually they're trying to keep him looking like he's beaten and broken. It's going to make the next fight all the more intense because we won't be able to forget the fact that even if maybe currently he doesn't feel as much pain, looking at him, he does not look good, nor does Ryuu. So I like the fact that they're getting around, like, showing, okay, it's not completely hopeless, he's at the very least not feeling as bad as he did, but visually we can see it's not looking good. We're in a location that just screams plaster me with blood because of just the whitish glow to everything. And then you have our girl more or less saying only one of them will make it, and you know damn well she's gonna easily fall on the sword for Belle if push comes to shove. It is very, very worrisome. Honestly, at this point, with the way the characters' lucks have been going, I'm waiting for the moment where they both get back up to the surface, they look at Hestia, hey, where is everyone? Oh, they went to the floor we just barely escaped? Alright, let's go back down. Like, at this point, that's the type of humor that they'll have to deal with in their lives. But is it better than it has been? Absolutely. We're seeing, so there's 3 perspectives we're following. We have the rescue party that's trying to find them. We have the rest of Bell's familia basically doing pretty well, all things considered. They just met up with the Xenos in terms of having the reinforcements. And then, of course, we have Bell and Ryuu. And I like the fact that in this episode, because really right now, all they're doing is traveling. They're not battling a big floor boss yet. They're not doing anything other than just trying to get to each other or trying to escape. So every 3, 4, 5 minutes, they shift the perspective and show what each of them are doing, and it honestly kept it rather fresh and exciting. When the Xenos came in, I totally thought it was random mob creatures that were attacking, because I've seen it before, both in video games, I've seen it in shows, where you have all these different species of monsters in the dungeon. I thought because of how everything has been disturbed, maybe they all were just launching out and they're saying, no, we're the king of the floor, and they're all just attacking each other. Because they really made them look like monstrous villains, and then when you realize that it's the intelligent monsters, honestly, it kind of just lets you give out that sigh of relief, like, okay, we were a little tense there for a moment, we have our boy no longer able to use his great fire sword of death, everyone's looking a rather winded, and I mean, you're going up against these almost like electric eel, dragon-like creatures that you can't even hit the top of their head. It's basically like armor plating, so you have to really get right on the neck there. And it felt like there was a monster spawner underneath the water, because every time they killed like the dozen that were up, like a dozen more popped up. It was just absolutely brutal. So honestly, without those reinforcements, probably would have made it, let's be honest. I mean, unless someone else could power up that sword for maybe another hour or so, I really doubt they would have made it. So it just kind of felt like a rewarding episode while feeling worrisome all at the same time. And I think the escalation of this season has been spot on. They constantly make it feel like the characters are winning, to then they lose, to then they win, to then they lose. And an episode like this kind of kept it in that middle ground where they had the humor. They had the secondhand embarrassment of, ooh, I don't want to touch my lips on where Bell's was, so I'm going to save it for later. Or Bell being goofy about it tasting like garbage, right? Did we need that stuff? No, but did it help relieve the tension after what we've been dealing with? Of course it did. And that's what I like about it, is it showed all the characters where they're at, it made it feel not hopeless, but it still kept the death flags relevant, so it felt like when the characters succeed or they fall, you're excited or terrified because you feel like it can go either way at a moment's notice. And that's what's really good about this season of DanMachi, and why I think the second part is even excelled past the first, which was already really good stuff overall. And by the time we leave season 4, I'd be shocked if most people didn't consider this to be their favorite DanMachi season. In general, the animation is holding strong. There's that one moment of a wider shot where you saw all of like the little eel-like creatures kind of floating in the background. Looked a little goofy, but I mean, in movement, they're fast, they were brutal, they were terrifying, and I was just glad I wasn't these characters dealing with the nonsense that they were, but excited. Reinforcements have arrived, but the death flags remain relevant, so until they're all together in one location, I am fearful that at a moment's notice, someone will be taken away from us, but time will tell. Thoughts and feelings yourself, though, down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and of course, as I mentioned, we got that full live reaction available on my Patreon. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.